Hey friends, thanks for listening in to the Purpose Mastermind podcast today. I'm going to have a conversation today with Paul Germo from South Carolina. I think you're going to find the content of this conversation very helpful and relevant to all of our lives. The main topic is going to be failure. So, Paul, first of all, thanks for joining in, taking the time out of your life to have this conversation with me.
Oh man, I am so honored, Mark. I appreciate the fact that you reached out to me through, I believe it was Facebook. You saw a post of mine and it just kind of resonated with you. So I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for asking me.
It really resonated. The name of your book that we'll get into in a few minutes, A Failure's Guide to Success. Failure isn't final, it's fuel. So I can't wait
Amen.
to talk to you about that. But first, let's give everyone and kind of an overview of your life. Like, what do you generally like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? That is
Or
a
I should
great,
say adventure. Fun or adventure.
yeah. Adventure. Well, let me tell you, I love to travel. My wife and I sold our house about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago when we traveled full time to 26 different states, slept in 70 or 80 different locations, some for a week, some for a month, spent the winter in Florida and other warm states. So that was nice. We were from Minnesota and exploring is great. And we just decided we're going to settle down here and get to know Greenville, South Carolina a little bit. Right.
Anyway, let me ask you this question. Give us the 60-second overview of your life. Like if you could give us just the timeline of your life, a snippet from, childhood, family of origin, just snippets all the way through. Give us that real quick.
60 seconds. Okay, I'm 60 years old, so that's 1 second per year. All right, so born in Saskatchewan, Canada. When I was two, we moved to Calgary. My dad was a guy who really felt called to ministry, but never quite made it. He chased that dream for his whole life, but he got sidetracked by starting businesses and running businesses and doing well at them and failing at them. So that's kind of the story of my life is when I was a kid, we moved a lot. We
Mm.
moved and we moved and we moved. And it got really exhausting and tiring as a young man. It was frustrating. I look back now and I go, yeah, okay, I had some anger issues due to that. So that was part of my story. When I was in high school, I wrote a letter to God and I described the woman that I wanted to marry. I was living in a small town in Alberta, Canada at the time, and I wrote a letter, Dear God, here is the woman I want to marry. And I described my wife that I ended up marrying to a T. Um,
Mm.
Blonde hair, blue-eyed, Norwegian background from Minnesota. I had never been to Minnesota in my life and just armpit height and all that. And it just worked out well. And we ended up being married. We've been married for 35 years now.
Oh, wow. Did you describe her as being armpit height?
I did, yeah. Because I'm a short guy. You know, I'm 5'7" on a good day, so I just didn't want someone that I had to look up to.
That's great. So, your book, the title of it is wonderful. The simplicity. We can probably just talk about the title of this book for a couple hours, I'm sure. A Failure's Guide to Success. Subtitle, Failure Isn't Final, It's Fuel. What was the motivation behind you writing this book? I've written a couple books. It's a dumb thing to do. It's so much work. It's so hard. Like you really have to have a motivation for it. What was your motivation?
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Mark. It's a lot more work than you realize. Well, I'll tell you, back up 20 plus years, and we had gotten ourselves into a really difficult situation. We had left Minnesota. We moved to a state where we were not from. We didn't have friends there, kind of similar to now, only we do have some family and friends here. We were in North Dakota. I moved there to help a guy run his U.S. Senate campaign. And while there, went to the White House, went and met, all the top people in political parties and the what do you call them, the lobbyists, all those people. And And I realized that everybody wants you to sell your soul to be in politics. And it really kind of, I went away from there. It was a heady time. It was just vibrant. It was exciting. It was intoxicating. I felt like I was on drugs. And then we went home and I came down off of that high. And that's when I started thinking about the political system and what we were in and how everyone is asking us to sell our soul to get endorsed by them. And then that campaign ended and we lost. And we were in North Dakota, kind of stuck there. And we're like, okay, what do we do now? I had worked as a photographer in the past, and I thought, okay, I will do that. So we met. I met with a photographer in town, just showed him my stuff, and he said, "Hey, you want to buy my studio?" I agreed.
Mm.
Yes, let's look at it, but let's do a 1 year test drive. And we did that and decided it would be a bad situation for both of us. And then at that point is right around the time that the housing crisis hit in 2008. We're stuck in North Dakota. I'm unemployed, barely scraping by, almost homeless, and not knowing what to do. And so
And at this time, you have how many kids?
we started out with 6 kids, and then our seventh and our eighth came during that period. Our
Mm.
seventh and our eighth. So, I was feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
I pursued this dream that I thought was my life dream to be a photographer, and it was not exactly what I thought it would be. And I felt like a failure, like I couldn't support my family. And I jumped on a pipeline. They were going through town, and I worked doing the hardest, dirtiest, most grunt labor I'd ever done in my life. I mean, it was like I was a non-educated laborer, basically, is what I was. And at that point, I was thankful just to work. And I went through that period and God took us to a place of abundance. During that whole time, I just kept reading Psalm 66 and claiming it. And it talks about God taking us through hard times, through water, through fire, and through allowing people to walk over our heads and to trample us underground. But then it says that he brought us to a place of abundance. And and when we are brought to that place of abundance, you know, the psalmist talks about, I will do what I spoke when I was in trouble, when I made promises to you, God, and that is I will share and give you the glory. So
Mm.
that's essentially what this book was when God took us out of there, brought us to another place, started just opening doors for me and, abundantly gave us friends, which we didn't have in North Dakota, gave us a good church and just, I mean, work and everything just was abundant. So at that time, I decided I need to write this book. And basically, I wrote it for me. And then I realized this book isn't just for me, it's for other people as well.
I want to tap a little bit more into your story. You're obviously a communicator. There's no doubt you're good with words. You communicate. You're a deep thinker. So you're in this job that you feel like sounds like requires no thinking. How long did you work that? And how did you how did you how did you endure that?
That is a great question. I'll tell you, I endured it knowing I'm supporting my family. I had gone through, it was like probably a year and a half where I was just scraping by trying to find work. And then I found this pipeline that was going through town. And because this pipeline was going through town, I just begged for them to hire me. I said, I'll do anything. And God just opened that door. And I was there and I was working with all these people who some of them didn't even graduate from high school. I'll say most of them had not. Most of them had never cracked a book in their life.
Mm.
And they found me to be fascinating because I was different than them. I mean, I didn't hang out at the bars. I didn't go fight with the local people. I didn't smoke. I didn't swear. I had a wife and I had kids, and they just found that to be fascinating. They're like, this guy is some kind of freak. I mean, and really, it was amazing. I loved the experience. I'd come home after work and I would tell my wife and my kids, so today Frenchie and Eddie said this and they did that. And last night they were in a fight in a bar and they beat up five people, and they asked me these questions like, you know, why do you have a wife? And they asked me about college. They asked me just things that they had never even thought about. So, and about God, I never went in, I never preached. I'm gonna hang out with these guys. I'm just gonna be one of them. But they could tell I was different. So they would ask me about God and they'd ask me about church and religion and all those things. So that's what kept me going, just getting to know these guys who I would never have had the opportunity to know before. And it was just it was a gift. It really was, and I got fit. I mean, I remember I hadn't seen my brother. He was a missionary in Kenya, hadn't seen him for about a year, and he was in the area and called and he walked up and he saw him. He's like, whoa, you look fit. And because I was, carrying 60-pound 6x6 timbers back and forth all day long, 12 hours a day. That's what
Wow.
I did. So it was good physically. I just, had those guys that I could talk to and see a different side of the tracks. So that's,
And so how long did you have that job?
well, the way that world works, and I found that out, is they do like 6 months of full-time work and then they go on unemployment for 6 months and then they work for 6 months and they go on unemployment for 6 months. So I did it for about 6 months until they said, well, we're shutting the pipeline down for the year. And then at that point, I did what everyone else did. I went on unemployment and started looking for work.
Hmm.
And a couple years later, got work.
Yeah. So let's get into this topic of failure. Let me ask you this. Your subtitle, Failure Isn't Final, It's Fuel. How do you think most people view failure? Not as
Most,
fuel, certainly not as fuel.
right.
People view it as what?
People normally view failure as the end. They go, I tried it. I failed. I'm going back to what I was doing. It's kind of like the dog returning to its vomit.
Mhm.
Most people look at it, they beat themselves up. I still do it. I mean, it's a daily battle for me. And I think it is for most people where you try something, it doesn't work, and you go, oh, I'm such an idiot. And they beat themselves up. And then that narrative starts going, how stupid I was. How could I even think that? Am I delusional? Why would I think I could do this? And then they run away, they bury their dreams, and they tuck their tail and hide. Um, so that's what I think most people do. They
How do you
just,
think how do you think a person flips the switch if there is a switch to flip to become a person that uses it as fuel? Because in terms of sale, for instance, for me, in terms of sales, they say that a good salesman will make 100 phone calls to get one yes.
sure.
Myself, I will make 100 phone calls if all of them will say yes.
Yeah, yeah,
All of them.
exactly.
How do you think a person becomes a person that utilizes failure as fuel?
First of all, I think we have to stop and look inside. You know, I mean, there's a risk in looking inside where you become so self-focused that you don't look outward and you don't look upward. But I think you stop, you look inside, and you say, who am I trying to please? Whose definition of success am I living my life by? And you redefine, you try to understand what success really is to you, not someone else, not your parents, not the teacher, not the system, but what is success to you? And then incrementally, piece by piece, step by step, drip by drip, crumb by crumb. you make little steps forward. And I don't think it's something that happens in a blaze, in an inferno, in a, like a rocket blast. Oh, everyone talks about grow big, grow fast, and your life will be different, but it's not. It's all about slow, incremental
Mhm.
growth and allowing yourself to grow slowly. And, eventually, bam, you'll realize, wow, I've come a long way. But I don't know that there is an instant flip or switch to flip.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I left teaching, I left my career, I guess 8 years ago now. I didn't have a plan in place. I didn't have a new job in place. I had something inside of me that needed to come out and live. And I recall in that season, I just did handyman work. I did anything to make money while I was pursuing these other things on the inside of me, trying to figure out what it is. And I remember looking at my life initially and thinking, man, what a failure am I? Like I think I was like 48 and I'm like, I don't have a big retirement account. I don't have some impressive job to tell people that I have. I'm like, what have I done with my life?
Yeah, yeah,
And but then it took a little while to get there, but then I was like, wait a second. I am about to hit 50 and I'm in a place in life where I get to choose whatever I want to do with my life. I'm not so tied down to debt that I have to just keep doing a certain career I have until I'm 65. Like I have the flexibility and the financial ability to just choose what I want to do with my life. I thought to myself, that sounds like success.
hmm,
That sounds like prosperity. And so I guess what I want to say is that for me personally, when I feel like I'm failing, it doesn't fuel me. It's hard to be creative, you know. It's hard for me to like have the good thoughts and the good ideas when I'm feeling like I'm failing.
yeah,
Um, what does a person do when you feel like you're failing? How do you? Because I think you're right. In those feel when you feel like a failure, it's easy to be the dog returning to the vomit.
yeah, yeah. And it's one of the hardest things to do in the whole world of failing and self-improvement and moving to the next stage. And I think, it depends on where your anchor is, you know. Um, is your anchor in your identity as you were a teacher?
Hmm.
Is that your identity? Am I anchored in that? Or do I have a faith? Do I believe that I was created for something? I'm unique. I'm different than everyone else. And I have something to offer the world. And maybe it is being a teacher, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's doing what you're doing, where you are helping people advance in their lives and, discover purpose.
Hmm.
But some people touching the lives of children is what they're called to do. So a lot of it has to do with being willing to really stop and think and ask yourself, what was I created to do? And when you're going through failure, there's, you're gonna beat yourself up. I had a really rough couple weeks right up before New Year's. And yesterday I was going through that whole feeling like, wow, I am such a failure. I cannot believe here I am stuck in the middle of South Carolina. I want to be in my trailer and traveling the country. I want to go back to Norway. I want to go back to Jamaica. Why am I stuck here? And then I realized it's because my kids, they need stability. God has me here. I'm planted here. So I had to recalibrate. And what I did, is I read the Bible,
Hmm.
28 chapters yesterday.
Hmm.
When I say read, I listened to it and I followed along because, you know, I don't know about you, but ADHD, I can start reading and then I start thinking about something else. So I was listening, and that just totally changed my whole outlook on who I am, what I'm called to do, and where I am going. So, it's not something that people automatically know how to do, but if you stop, you redefine what success and failure is, and then you take small steps and you take action. Um, I don't know if I answered your question or if I went on a
Yeah.
rabbit trail.
I heard someone say once that anything worth doing in life is uphill. And I wonder if that was their way of saying not that it's just hard, but the reason it's hard is because you're going to have to struggle. And that struggle oftentimes is just failing.
Right.
Maybe it's not even failing. Maybe it's just, if we wanted, I mow my yard every couple of weeks here in Oklahoma. If I wanted, I could call myself a failure because I just mowed this a week and a half ago.
Good point.
What
Yeah.
am I doing? If we wanted to look at our life this way, I'm going to take a shower today. Well, I'm a failure. I just took one yesterday. Like if I knew how to take showers better, I wouldn't have to do this again. I guess it's so I think I feel like I'll just speak for myself. I feel like I frame failure in the wrong way. And it and so when your book failure isn't final, it's fuel. Like failure is like it shouldn't be called failure. Maybe there should be a different word we use to insert into maybe our tryings. They aren't failings, they are tryings.
Yeah, absolutely. I spent some years in the startup world, and one of the things that you learn when you're doing a startup is you're going to start here and you're going to have this idea that this is exactly what I'm making, but you're going to end up way over here because you
Yes.
iterate and you learn and you grow and you ask questions of other people. And that's how you find out that where I thought I was heading is the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I thought in my mind, my customer needed this, but what they actually need is this, and I'm building the wrong thing. It doesn't make you a failure. It makes you a startup founder, and it makes you an entrepreneur, and it makes you an innovator. And that's how you innovate, and that's how you grow, step by step. And um, I think you're right about redefining the word failure. You know, maybe there should be a different word. I don't know who said it, but someone said, when you fail, you are actually learning, so maybe there's a word that could substitute failure,
Yeah.
but using the word failure to describe where you are in life, um, it's okay as long as it doesn't become your identity,
Yeah.
realizing it is a moment in time.
So I want to read something that you wrote. It simply says, "My passion lies in helping others rediscover their hidden dreams, redefine success, and ignite the courage to burn down the box that holds them back." What's the box?
Yeah, I mean that's a whole um, topic that I've been thinking about deeply for 3 years, because people talk about thinking outside the box, you know, and we all know what that means.
Uh-huh.
Average people think this way. This guy thinks this way. Steve Jobs, he thought outside the box, and I was thinking about that way one day, and I'm like, no, you don't just want to think outside the box. Let's burn down that box because each one of us, you, me, everybody has been living in a box that is of someone else's design. And it's usually an ill-fitting box.
Mm.
Um, I've talk to people who were engineers because their parents said, "You are going to be an engineer."
Hmm.
And they hated it. And they left that career and started coaching, or they've started, a different path because they realize this isn't who I am. So the box is what society, the system, school puts you in. It's the easy path. It's the path everyone goes on, and it's basically the prescribed, prescriptive way to live your life and be who others think you should be
Mm.
without considering who you actually are.
You mentioned something early in our conversation about your dad. You said he sensed a call to ministry and never tapped into that, it seems.
Yeah.
As you look at your dad's life and what you experienced with him, what do you think about all that? Just looking at your dad's life.
You know, I think about it a lot. I think about the fact that he was that close. Um, and he never really fulfilled it. I can't say he never fulfilled it. He died 6 years ago. He was 79. It was 2 weeks before his 80th birthday. And they had moved to this small town. As I said, my parents moved. That was their legacy, always moving, always itinerant. They ended up in this small town in the middle of the prairies of Saskatchewan, and everybody in town kind of saw him as a sage, a guy to talk to, and they started asking him to preach sermons. So my dad lived his entire life wanting, from the time he was 18 on, wanting to be a minister. I think he doubted himself. I think he saw himself as not good enough. And so he didn't pursue it. And I just see it as kind of it's a sad, sad story, to end up your entire life without ever fulfilling what you feel like you're called to do because of fear,
Yeah.
because of doubt. And yet, the last day that he lived, he was asked to preach at a service that had all the people from all the churches in the area at. It was a little community service. He went, he preached, he went home, and he died.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he was a great preacher, but he just was racked with self-doubt.
Mm. I'm thinking about starting a failures club, which is a group of people that just decide what hard thing they want to pursue, and then every week just tell us if you did it or not.
Wow. Yeah.
I, Paul, I heard someone say their motto the other day about life. The person said, "My motto is to do hard things with people I love."
Mm.
And which I love that. And
Yeah.
I also thought to myself, I don't do hard things unless it's with people I love. And that may make me a chicken or soft or whatever it makes me
Human.
human. Yes, I'll take
Yeah.
that.
That's okay.
Let me finish with this random question. Um, what is next for Paul Germo?
That is a phenomenal question. And I'm actually at that point right now where I'm asking myself that same question. I'm asking God that. I went in 15 years ago, I went into an industry I knew nothing about, had no relationships, and built up a really good career, executive level, in the industry. But I know God is calling me to the next thing. I wrote my book here.
Yeah.
Um, I'm writing a lot on LinkedIn, on Substack, and on Facebook, and it's resonating with people. So I believe next phase is building a community based on people who realize, maybe they've failed, but they want to uncover their abandoned dreams. They want
Uh,
to dig down deep because we all have dreams that are abandoned. And if we stop and we dig down deep, we'll find those dreams and we will become a better version of ourselves. So
yeah,
that I believe is part of the whole Failure's Guide to Success and burning down the box. So that's my goal is to inspire people to do that, to look at what their abandoned dream is, uncover it, and figure out how do I go to the next step and just choose powerful choices, one choice at a time, one step at a time. And so I believe I'm starting a community, whether it'll be on school or what platform, I don't know, but
yeah.
that's where I think I am heading next.
Well, you're the right guy to be inspiring people.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you
I've,
so
I've
much.
really enjoyed the conversation. Your topic is certainly timeless, without a doubt, a timeless topic that, without a doubt, maybe the biggest failure for any of us is that we don't give our dreams our best shot.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
that's maybe
The
that's our ultimate failure.
Yeah, I agree. I think my second chapter of my book is called Quitting. And I start out by saying that's your only guaranteed path to failure
Mm,
is to quit. And sometimes you have to quit because sometimes the right thing to do is to quit. But you got to make sure that you're quitting for the right reason, not because of fear, not
yeah,
because you don't believe in yourself. That was my dad's life is um he just didn't believe in himself. He always felt he was less than, and because of that, he never pushed beyond and never achieved what he
yeah.
felt like he was supposed to do. And I think that's it. You quit and you'll always be a failure if you it's guaranteed.
Maybe you should start the Failures Club.
We could collaborate on it. How about that?
Brother, thank you so much for your time.
Amen.
I
My
really do
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for letting me be here. I mean, I am so honored and thrilled, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to continuing our conversations and our relationship and seeing where it takes us.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As we finish, I
And
want to remind everyone that your life has a purpose and you can know that purpose and you can be set free from anything that's holding you back from living it out boldly. Now go take on the day.
amen. Thank you.